Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Exceptional Women with Grit, where we interview dynamic women around the world who are truly making a difference. We are so excited to be back on air with season 5 of Women with Grit. So excited. How are you doing, Lee? Excited for season 5.
Yes, I am overly excited, overly joyed. This is, as I'm walking through the city in different places, people are, "Hey, when are y'all coming up? When are y'all coming back out?" And I'm like, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna have to do things different this year because our
Yeah.
schedules are so crazy." But yeah, I'm
Yes.
excited. I'm excited. We have some phenomenal guests lined up. Today's is just a heck of a way to kick off, and just looking forward to moving on.
I know. My goodness. Can you believe that this is season 5? Over 120 amazing women on that have graced the stage of Women with Grit.
Wow! Wow! Wow!
Did it
Wow!
feel like that, many?
It doesn't.
I mean, we've had some amazing guests. I still
Mhm.
remember quite a few. Lisa, right? Lisa Pointer Holmes.
Yes. Yep.
Kicked off
Hmm.
with Lisa. We've had
Hmm.
quite a few amazing guests over the last 3 years of
Right.
doing Women with Grit. So, as you've already mentioned, we're going to be doing some things different. We're doing a lot more of kind of getting ahead of it, pre recording, and then being able to still engage with you on the day of. But that just gives us the space to still provide you amazing women and give their
Mhm.
story. And not only that, give you teasers of what to expect, right?
Yes. Yep, for sure. So yeah, so it's fun. I mean, think about it. We've had people from London on, and
Mhm.
I think Australia, just all over the world. So yep. So
We
yeah. So,
genuinely have. And so,
yep.
what about today's guest? Are you excited about Dr. Stephanie?
I am. I'm great friend, a tremendous woman. Just a tremendous leader and overall tremendous person. Period. So
Yeah.
I have some great questions for her that I've never asked before. So just looking forward to that.
I think it'll be a wonderful conversation. And
Yes.
definitely the ability to add such a powerhouse to our stage is phenomenal.
Hmm. For sure.
So if you're tuning into Women with Grit, feel free to join us at www.facebook.com/exceptional women with grit or on YouTube at www.youtube.com/the at symbol and then women with grit or on our website www.womenwithgrit.com. Go ahead and bring your friends on in and let them know that we are back on and we are back on the stage. So super excited. Awesome. So let's go ahead and delve into our guest this evening, Dr. Stephanie Walker. You guys are in for a tremendous treat today. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dr. Walker before we bring her up. Dr. Stephanie Walker is a native of Los Angeles, California, and she received her Bachelor's of Science degree from Vanderbilt University in 1997 and her medical degree from Cornell University Medical College in 2001. She completed her residency in pediatrics at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia in 2004 and a fellowship in perinatal medicine at the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles 2006. Afterwards, while a Harvard University Commonwealth Fund Fellow in Minority and Health Policy, she completed a master's of public health degree with a concentration in health policy and management at the Harvard School of Public Health in 2007. That same year, she was also the recipient of the Presidential Scholar Award at Harvard University. Upon completing both fellowships, Dr. Walker joined the Harvard Medical Faculty Physician Group as the neonatologist, I hope I said that correctly, at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center and an instructor of pediatrics at Harvard Medical School in the Department of Pediatrics. In May of 2009, Dr. Walker, she married Bishop Joseph Warren Walker III. And upon relocating to Nashville, Dr. Walker joined the neonatology faculty at Monroe Carroll Jr. Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt University, and as an assistant professor of clinical pediatrics in the Department of Pediatrics. They are the proud parents of two beautiful young babies, Giovanni and Joseph IV, believing that finding one's calling is all about making the community in which you live better. In 2010, Dr. Walker, alongside her husband, founded the nonprofit, the Doctors Joseph and Stephaine Walker Foundation. The mission of the foundation is now primarily advanced through scholarships for students, mentorship, and community outreach. The Walkers are committed to helping young people identify their purpose and go on to help themselves and those in the world around them to lead productive and satisfying lives. Targeting obesity and health literacy, in January of 2011, Dr. Walker helped lead the establishment of Church Fit, a fitness empowerment and health literacy program at Mount Zion Church Fit. Church Fit was revealed by Mount Zion Baptist Church in partnership with Full Circle to help the church's 30,000 plus congregation revive fitness goals and maintain a healthy lifestyle to promote and improve overall health and wellness. In 2005, she joined forces with Beauty Counter, becoming a healthy beauty advocate, helping to educate and empower women and families in underrepresented communities to make healthier choices regarding the personal care products they choose to use on their bodies. Her record of volunteerism spans the country, from mentoring teenage girls interested in health science and others. Listen, I'm going to bring to the stage none other than Dr. Stephanie.
Hello, family. Hello. How are you guys?
Great, thanks. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic.
I tell you that bio, it lets lets people know all the things that you've done, but it still doesn't tell everybody who you are.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So why don't you, I know Charellle has a question for you coming up, but I want to just kind of lead off with, who are you? You're first lady, you're a business owner, you're a mom, and not in any particular order, wife, healthcare advocate, just, so many different things, community servant. Tell us who you are without the bio.
So in this current season that I'm in, I think COVID taught us all quite a few things, right? COVID really helped us prioritize, help us make the main thing. And I think for me currently, in this current season that I'm in, first, I'm a mom, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're home and, and obviously I'm a wife, a mom and a wife. If your home isn't right, if your life isn't at peace where you dwell, then nothing else matters, right? And so first, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, because of course, without my parents and my family and my grounding, I wouldn't be who I am today. I'm a child of God. Right. And why that's honestly the most important thing is because how I got here, chasing purpose, not platform or paper, right? I think those things can be important in a season, but as long as you are chasing purpose and following the passion that God has placed in your spirit to do what He has for you to do on this earth, you will always win no matter what. And so I am squarely focused in being at the right place at the right time with the right people, depending on where God leads me. Saying no to a lot of things nowadays, simply because I don't feel that's where God is leading me in this season. Just trying to be laser sharp focused, not having my hand in everything, but making sure that I have my hands in the right things.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. And it segues great into the question that we always ask our guests, which is to just tell us your unique story of grit.
So I know that the show is entitled Women with Grit, but for me, I feel like it started when I was young. I
Mm,
think, growing up as a young kid in inner city LA, basically growing up in the hood, they don't expect much of us, right? Like our
mhm,
expectation that the world has on us, that society has on us is minimum to none. But I grew up in a loving family. I'm one of 7 kids. And I grew up being told you can do anything, you can be anything, although you didn't always see that around you, right? But I
mhm,
believe I was blessed to be put in various circumstances, whether it be, programs from, business people that were helping youth, getting youth off the street. I
mhm.
was in like Al Hollingsworth Youth for Business program where he was trying to teach 8 and 9-year-olds how to work businesses. And we were like just trying to stay, hang out on the corner.
Right.
We was in programs with the police academy, just trying to stay off the street. And so small things like that, that people like we are now were sort of reaching back in the community, making sure that the kids like me didn't get lost,
Mhm,
helping sort of guide our way and showing us that we could be and we can do and we are worth something. But
mhm.
then going to school and sometimes the teachers being like, oh, yeah, you can't do it. You're not going to be whatever. Like I remember distinctly like getting great grades on my exams, but then my teachers assuming that I was cheating
Mm.
or, winning the science fair, but my teacher gave me a C, even though I won 2 science fairs with the same project because she looked me in the face and she didn't look like me. I'll just be transparent. She looked me in the
Right.
face and said, there's no way that you could have done this by yourself, so you cheated.
Wow. Wow.
You know, and so having the grit to keep going and
Mhm,
not believe what people are trying to pour into you, making sure that, and even as adults, we have this really bad habit. We hear voices on both sides, positive and negative, but frequently we believe the negative before we believe the positive. Well, in that young mind of young Stephanie, I believed the positive and not the negative, and that was truly my saving grace, and not knowing the impact that that would have on the rest of my life. And so moving forward, there were always constantly, I think people look at us and they make the assumption that either life was you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, or life was easy, or no one
right.
ever told you no, or everyone helps you along the way. There were so many obstacles and so many people along the way who were technically supposed to be helpers or people that were supposed to be pouring into us, who were really, whether they were trying to do it on purpose or not, were really obstacles and roadblocks. But there was a little voice inside of me, and of course, my parents in the background saying, you can do it, you can,
Right.
you will, you must. And this idea of looking outside, looking at the hood, then looking on TV, looking at the Jeffersons, and looking at other shows that were coming out at the time saying, do I want to live like that or do I want to live like this?
Mhm,
And somewhere inside, you just get the sort of the muscle, just to keep moving and to keep going. That led me all the way to Vanderbilt,
mhm.
where at the time it was like 2% students of color, right?
Right.
Like I didn't go to honky tonk, but they gave
Right.
me a full ride. So
Hey.
what? A full academic scholarship. So who's not
Yeah.
going to go to school on a full academic scholarship? I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that it was a way out. I
Mhm,
went, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and that led me to medical school and to Cornell. And even though early on in my career it was people who didn't look like me who were obstacles, it was people who did look like me at Vanderbilt or who did not look like me at Vanderbilt who paved the way to help me move forward. One
mm.
of my professors, old, I guess I mean, Dr. Nunnally, he's, God rest his soul. There's no way he's still here. He was old when we were there.
Yes, yes.
And that was 25 years ago. But I remember him pulling me into his office and he's saying, looking at me, and he was like, you're like a rare bird.
Wow.
He was, you're a triple threat, and don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. You're
Wow.
black, gifted, and you can do it all. Anything that you touch will turn to gold. Believe me. And he
Mhm,
didn't look like me. And so, yes, I believe in, always looking for mentors, male, females, otherwise who look like you, but don't turn down mentorship from people who don't, right? People who
mhm.
truly want to invest their time, energy, and effort into you. And so that helped propel me into a whole nother life experience that I'm not quite sure I would have had otherwise. And so I guess circling back just in terms of women with grit, frequently women with grit were birthed out of young girls with grit.
All right. Yes.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. Something you said which really resonated with me was, this is one of the things that I say as well, which was, I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but a shovel in my hand. I dig wells.
Yeah.
We dig wells, and I love that. Just the adversity is the cusp that sometimes births a decision that we either have to lean into it or it overcomes us as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as you think about, now you're raising a young queen, and obviously, we always want our kids to look up to us and to see what we do. But what's the one thing you want JoJo to learn from you, her mom? If there's one thing that she takes away from you, what is that one thing?
Integrity. Hands down, integrity. Like, no matter where you go, no matter how high you climb, if your integrity is compromised, or if you have a poor sense of integrity or poor integrity following you, then that will always be your rate limiting factor. You won't climb very far. And if you do, you won't stay there for very long. There's something about having a really strong moral compass. When you do, God will be your guide. God will take care of you. And there's no greater business partner on the planet than the Lord, And so helping her understand that, like right now, she's really into ballet and dance, and she loves the sciences, but, get into church, get into the word, understand, what you stand for, because what you stand under is what you understand, in terms of who's pouring into your life. Right. And so, really helping her understand and get to who she is in spite of her friends, who she is in spite of what everybody else is doing. Who are you? Where do you want to do? What do you want to be? But who are you at your core in terms of your values and your sense of integrity? And she's 11. So, she wants to do what her friends do. And I just kind of pull her collar and say, look in the mirror, who are you going to be for yourself today? Every day before she leaves the house, I have her look in the mirror. Do you like what you see? Because if you like what you see, it doesn't matter what anyone else says. It doesn't matter how many comments you get today. You don't have to walk in the classroom with your head down because you're worried about your shoes or your shirt or your hair, because you looked in the mirror this morning, you liked what you saw. Therefore, now you can go to school and concentrate and allow the main thing to be the main thing, which is your studies, right?
Right. Wow. Tremendous. So I think one of the things that I really admire about you over the years is that, obviously, kind of, moving to Nashville, big church, all that. I mean, and it's worldwide. It's not just Nashville. And I think after you all got married, like very soon after, you went on a book tour. So, but right. What you've done is you've kept your identity. And probably even grown your identity since you've been here, because you were in Nashville for school, so it's not so much of an identity that you build when you're in school, but then coming back, it would have been easy for you to just kind of fall under and just be known as the first lady, and and ride like that. What about you? Encouraged you or drove you to be you and to have your own identity and to excel with your own identity?
It's something that Bishop and I laugh about all the time, my husband and I. And, I asked God, why did he make me this way? And I think it was for such a time as this, in terms of this season, this life that I live. And in no means is this a negative. But honestly, I have the personality where I just don't care. And I've, like, as a child, like the things that I described, when the teachers would say that, I wasn't like crying in the corner. I was like, okay, you're crazy, whatever. I don't care. Like, I know something different. Right. And I say that not in a negative way. No. In terms of I don't care. in my young adulthood, I got to that place in space, understanding that I don't really take into account what other people say about me or what other people think. Because if God put me here, then nothing else matters. If God led me here, then nothing else matters. If God put this in my spirit, then it doesn't matter what you say. If God's telling me don't do that, that's not a good idea, then it doesn't really matter what you say, right? And so for me, that sort of coming together of these two worlds, Bishop Walker's world and my world, as a physician, like I had no idea that he was involved in all this. Like when I met him, I told him, I remember that he was a pastor at a small church on Jefferson Street. Like, so imagine my first day driving up. I was like, what, Lord, have you gotten me into? Oh my God. You know, full transparency. Like when we met, I was like, yeah, I get it. You're a pastor. Woo, yay, you know, whatever. I'm not into that person. Like, I'm into you, Joseph. I want to get to know you, because if this is going to go somewhere, I have to know who Joseph is, what his sense of integrity is, sort of where he's going with his life outside of that in terms of his person. Like, I need to go deep with this person, because at the end of the day, if you're going to get married, if you're going to marry someone, you're not marrying their title or their job or their career. You're marrying them. And behind closed doors, you have to like that person. You have to care for that person. It's not about all the accolades and what goes on stage, because the reality, that's just an image and perception of who that real person is behind the scenes. I need to know, are you walking that same walk behind the scenes that you're walking on television, that you're walking on the stage? Who is this person behind the stage? So I actually didn't even allow him to talk about church and things while we were eating, because it wasn't, I didn't want that to influence my decision in terms of, or our decisions in terms of, was this going to be a good match for us, right? But when we realized it was going to happen and move into, you know, real courtship or real, you know, relationship, marriage, you know, we sat down and, you know, had that real conversation. Like, at the end of the day, for me, this is me. Take or leave me. This is who I am. I will evolve as a woman over time, like a normal person would. Like, we all evolve, but I will not change who I am at the core. Either you love me for who I am at the core, or you don't. Because if you want to marry me and morph me into someone else, it's not going to happen. I love who I am. I love who God made me. I was good before I met you. I'll be fine after. I will exhale. I will breathe again. You know, at the end of the day, if this is going to work, it's because you're bringing your whole self to the table and I'm bringing my whole self to the table. And full transparency, in our courtship, we were ourselves. And it was one of the very first relationships that I was ever in where I could fully be myself. So I felt safe bringing myself, Stephaine Hale, to Nashville to become Stephaine Hale Walker. And he stood beside me. He actually went up to the church and, you know, helped the congregants and the staff understand, she's coming to Nashville to be my wife. She's not coming to Nashville to serve you. And so give her space, give her time. And that for me was really important, for him to be able to support me in that way. But that kind of, and I opened up by saying, you know, that I don't care attitude. It's because in this kind of position, no matter what your mindset is, you will be inundated with other people's expectations. And you have to be able to carry the weight of that and still be yourself. But because I already had sort of that mindset, that muscle mindset in terms of really allowing other people's perceptions of me or personal desires interfere with my God-given trajectory, like, I think that's clearly a blessing that helped me, I don't know, survive and thrive in this space. I don't know, like, if I was lost or if I wasn't sure of who I was or I wasn't a confident person, I mean, this would have smothered me. It would have, you know, I would not be here where, you know, where I am today. Like, this kind of pressure is not something that you hope for or pray for. This is something that you have to be anointed for. And I really feel like God brought us together because he anointed me. Everything that, of course, you know, you see all this and you're like, oh my gosh, can I do this? And no, I can't do this. But if God chose me, that means that he's already put that those qualities inside of me. No matter what God is sending you to do, sending you out to do, you can do it, right? Because he's already put inside of you those skill sets, that know-how, those qualities, that intellect, like whatever, that sense of compassion, patience, like whatever those things are. You might have to dig deep for some patience and some whatever, but it's there in you, right? And so I was confident that if he truly was in charge of this union, then he had already put inside of me what I needed to do to be successful in this space. And I just walked in.
Mm-hmm. You know, that brings up a question, and Charellle, I'm going to stop after this, but it was just something that's tying in from what we're talking about. You know, a lot of times men, seemingly, and I don't know because it's not my story, but a lot of men have issues with women that are strong or firm or successful and kind of doing their thing. And I know, so I'm asking this for, you know, a lot of women. So Doc, if you were speaking to a group of men that maybe even expressed, hey, you know, I'm the man of the house and this is how it's supposed to be, or, you know, she thinks she's this, she thinks she's that, or I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to succumb, you know, I don't want to be, you know, overshadowed by my wife, you know, or just have those issues. What would your conversation be? And what are the words you would you share with this group of men, or just it may just be one guy, one man?
Like, no, it's a group of them. It's a whole bunch of them. No, I think people don't always understand. Like, it's so important in a relationship to be equally yoked, right? If you're a strong man, you don't want a weak woman by your side. After a while, telling someone what to do and them doing exactly what you want them to do, that gets old and that gets boring real quick. That's why marriage, you know, like those kind of marriages and relationships don't last because you're not on the same level. And I'm not saying that you have to be Clash of the Titans every day of the week, but you want someone who's, you know, intellectually savvy, just like you. So you can have that table talk, that pillow talk, those conversations. You want somebody where it's iron sharpens iron. You want somebody who, if you're going left, she's like, you know, honey, you might want to consider doing X, Y, and Z instead. You want somebody who's bright, intelligent, who's also a go-getter. Because just like you're busy, you want her to be just as busy. Yeah, you might be the type of guy who wants her at home doing some things. But after a while, that gets boring too. Like you want to support, you want to be able to support each other in whatever season that you're in. It's give and take, right? So that's one. Like you want somebody who's equally yoked. The second thing is understanding that it's not about competition, right? Because when I win, we win. And so taking that I out of the equation, when you win, we win. So I'm going to stand behind you, push you to the top, do whatever I need to do to be your biggest cheerleader to help you climb. But when it's my turn, my expectations is that you're going to do the same thing and get behind me and put your muscle behind me, right? To help me get to the top. And it's like, you just kind of think like if you're climbing up Mount Everest, like you're not racing to the top side by side together, you're lifting as you climb, right? And so having somebody who has the grit, has the muscle, has the mindset, has the determination, just like you, to reach whatever those goals are so that you guys can climb together. Also having someone who's not going to throw in the towel when things get tough. That's like marriages and relationships are hard. You want somebody who's dedicated just like you. And sometimes those characteristics are not built in relationships. They're built in other ways. They're built, you know, in school. They're built on the, you know, athletic field. They're built in other areas of life. And those qualities are brought into marriage, brought into relationships. And so I would just say, I don't want to say don't be that person, right? Like you are who you are, right? Like you are the person. Just be mindful of what you ask for because you get what you ask for, right? And I would flip to the other side because frequently, ladies, because I've been that person, right? Who's been single in my 30s, looking at my time clock thinking I should have been married by now. Like, what do I need to do? And I remember going places and people would be like, oh, so what do you do? And I'd be like, oh, I work in the hospital. I would never say I'm a physician because I didn't want them to run away. And so,
Right.
of course, like, oh, are you the clerk? Are you, the nurse? Are you the this? And I'd just be like, oh, whatever, and just kind of play it off and never answer the question until later on. But I learned that those people who were turned off by me being a physician were not the right people for me.
Exactly.
God's timing and the way that he works is so amazing that what you're looking for is looking for you, right? So don't dumb yourself down. Don't bring yourself down to somebody's level because you feel that they're loved. If they do, you don't want them anyway because you were
Right.
never authentic self to get them. They don't even know who you are. You want to be with someone who gets excited for you when you walk in the door, standing up straight with your head held high with your entire level of confidence, on 10,000, not just 10. And you want them to be able to look at you and be like, yeah, that's my boo. That's my babe. That's mine. You want them to be able to cheer for you. So don't dumb yourself down. Don't be less than. Don't dim your light to let somebody else's light shine bright. If they're intimidated by you and who you are and what you do, they're not the right person for you, and it's not going to work in the long run. Period. Don't waste your time. Been there, done that. Wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
You threw away that T-shirt, right?
Earned it.
Exactly. And I love the fact that you talked about and your emphasis of walking your authentic truth. And that has been something that has permeated through I feel like every single guest. It's like, be yourself, and have the courage to show up as your authentic self every single day. And in the space of social media, where now, to your point, it's like this microwave, moment of, let me show all of the glitz and the glam of what life looks like, but to really be able to tear down the layers and say, hey, look, today's a great day or today's a bad day, but it's a day and I'm working through it and I can continue to push in it because, what would you say to someone, especially like our youth who are in this space? Because, I was reading some statistics in that the younger generation now suffers even more from depression than the older ones. And a lot of it, some of the theories and the thoughts are because they're not really embracing themselves, but they're embracing whatever image they want to put out on social media so that they can be liked. It's this culture of likes. What would you say to that young person or even, another woman who's struggling with finding the courage to operate as her authentic self?
I would say put down social media. I know it's hard. I think it's so important to understand that most of what you see is not reality. It's just not. All the filters, whether it's something as simple as, what's her skin complexion look like? What's her skin tone? How slim is she? Her body is tight. Is this right? Like all of this. You've got all this airbrushing, all these mechanical apps and all this stuff, to make your skin look perfect and all this stuff. You can put makeup on your face in 10 seconds with an app, makes you look completely different. And so helping, especially young people, understand that it's all a facade, right? And frequently, many of these people who are showing these spaces, and glamorous lifestyles behind the scenes, they're not all that happy. And so that's the sad part, right? So they're constantly mentally competing with something that does not actually exist in real life. So how can you compete with the ghost? How can you compete with the false image? It's very difficult.
I'm sorry to stop you. You got to say that again, Dr. Steph. How can you compete with a ghost? That was powerful.
It doesn't even exist. So you're not even competing with anything that any human being is capable of doing because they're not even doing it themselves, right? And so when you talk about depression, you're talking about this false sense of needing to compete, which is a real sense for our kids because they don't know any different, right? Then you're also, talking about just this comparison factor constantly, right? Then you're talking about lack of true, authentic relationships. I got 10,000 friends on Instagram, but you don't know nobody. You're not having conversation with anybody. You're not really, interacting with human beings. There's studies that show that people who live the longest and are the happiest are those people who have close social circles and social networks and a good, like, sort of circle of family and friends that circle around them. If you don't have that, then your life is less fulfilling, they have found, for people. And so our kids are learning, and even, I mean, we sometimes get stuck in that trap as well. Hey, you, hey friend, hey. You don't know those people. Those are not your friends. You don't know them. Stop it. Stop saying that, because our kids are watching. Our kids are watching. They are not your friend. So just because you have a superficial interaction with someone for 2 minutes every day, that does not make that person your friend. That makes that person an acquaintance. You don't know who they are, what their values are, where they're from, where they're going, what they've done before in their past. You don't know their deep, dark secrets. They are not your friend, right? And so it works multiple ways, right? It works in terms of our own sort of psyche, in terms of those deep connections allow you to feel love. They allow you to feel trust. They allow you to feel these bonds. They allow you to sort of not feel alone, right? But then those superficial interactions falsely allow you to feel safe and secure around people that you should not feel safe and secure around, which is why then you see on social media people going back and forth at each other about stuff that so-and-so said and so-and-so did and da-da-da-da-da. And people get stuck in these cycles of these conversations that they should never be involved in, because they're sharing their deep, dark secrets with strangers who they thought were friends. So frenemies, so to speak. And so there's so many layers of confusion and danger when it comes to social media. I frankly just don't think that it's for young people. Obviously they use it, but in terms of the level of the maturity of their mind to be able to handle these conversations, to be able to understand the depth of, what's happening as they're, being sucked into the vortex of Facebook and Instagram and all this. I mean, frankly, it's dangerous to some levels, and they're doing studies and they're trying to, they're even lobbying to try to prevent kids from, under a certain age from being on social media, because they know the truth. They've done the studies. But of course, people are lobbying back in terms of making sure that, they're making the money off of these young people, from advertisements on these platforms, because they're powerful. I think they can be used, but in safe ways. And I think helping our young people understand the best way to utilize them. But I think the most important is not getting your sense of identity from it, not competing with these people who aren't real. And as parents or as community workers and as just human beings, helping people understand your flaws. I think it's helpful if you are a person, an adult, someone on social media who has a following, not being so perfect. Right? And I know that sounds funny, but it's okay to celebrate. But also in your celebration, make sure you be transparent about how you got there. How many times did you fall? How many doors got slammed in your face? How many times did people turn you away? Every once in a while, get up and show your face on social media with no makeup on, without your hair done, with your hair bonnet on, in the car with your kids, celebrating, coming from a game on a hot day, looking all crazy. It's important for people to see that side of you so that they can understand that you're human too, and that they can also be their human self perfectly imperfect, just the way that they are. And it's a beautiful thing to be perfectly imperfect. Perfectionism is not cool. It's just not. That word perfect, we don't even use that word in our house. It's not allowed. There's no such thing as perfection. It's about progress, never perfection. Did you do better than you did yesterday? Are you a better person than you were last year? Right. Did you do better? Did you study a little harder? Did you do better at that volleyball game? Did you do better at this than you did yesterday? Every step of the way, just trying to do better than you did the day before. And as women, doing the same thing, you're going to that job, you're seeking that career, you're trying to climb. Did you do better than you did yesterday? We all have vices. Whether it's trying not to go at it in a meeting, whether, you got to hold your composure, or you're trying to, get your message across. Did you handle it better than you handled it the last week? You work a little harder than you did yesterday. Did you take it to the next level? Celebrating your wins, because people get to the top by taking the stairs. They don't get to the top by taking the elevator. And that takes time, that takes grit, that energy, that takes dedication, that takes focus, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Wow. It's funny. Of course, I was telling you all before we got started, I got some dental floss. So you all almost got my authentic. You almost saw me with some string hanging out today. was trying to floss and just got stuck.
Yeah, but it's funny, right? But that's real. Like,
Mhm.
and so, like, for example, when we go out, like, you will, like, on Instagram or on the church website, you might see me in a dress and heels and da da da. But when we
Mhm.
go, like, you see me in shorts, jean
Uh-huh.
shorts, tank top, and some flip flops and a baseball cap. That's
Right.
me. That's who I am. That's my authentic self. And I'm
Mhm.
not going to not be my authentic self. I love
Right.
me. I love being comfortable. I don't mind dressing up, but
Mhm.
I really like just chilling and
Gotcha.
like being in the cut.
Yep. Fully understand that. And I've seen it. So I
Exactly.
I do the same thing. So I want to kind of turn the page a little bit. You know, I know you also as the Uber XL driver. Um, you know, early in the mornings with your kids and everything. Talk to us about Dr. Steph, the parent, and you know, what are some things? And you know, and quite frankly, I know there are a ton of books out there. You know, with all the kids we have, I know that there none of those books are accurate, and definitely not completely accurate. The only ones that are accurate are the ones that say no child is the same. but but talk to us about that. You know, being a parent, being a mom, and not and again, you're not a stay at home mom, but you know, but you also focus on your kids. And what's your parenting style? Just give us some insight into that, and some
Well,
especially some things that will help other mothers that are you know in the same situation.
well, I will be fully transparent. I wasn't doing it right for a really long time.
Hmm.
You
Okay.
know, I had, a lot of help raising my children, given our lifestyle and how fast we were moving in life. I've had nannies, I've had au pairs, I've had, my mom here for months on end. And in my kids' early years, I was present, but I was frequently absent and present. Like, I'd be home, but I'd be working. I'd be home, but on the computer. I'd be at the dinner table, but on my cell phone or on my laptop.
Hmm.
My daughter would walk in and be like, you got two kids, right? Like, about it. I'm like, horror, like, what? Yeah, of course, I'm here, right? Like,
Right. Hmm.
and what COVID showed us was everything that we're missing out on.
Hmm.
And coming out of COVID, I just refused to sacrifice my kids on the altar of my career, on the
Hmm.
altar of anything that we were trying to do or trying to accomplish, because at the end of the day, they are our greatest accomplishments and they are the next generation. And so if we want the next generation to be successful and to succeed in this world and to change this world, we have to pour into them like we would pour into anything else, any other, entrepreneurial endeavor, right? But in a
Hmm.
different way, because it's coming from a place of love, right?
Right.
And so the parent that I am today is definitely different than the parent that I was, 3 or 4 years ago, pre-pandemic.
Hmm.
So I mean, early mornings, getting up, yes, Uber X driver, bus, yes, bus driver, all over town.
Hmm.
Um, but the reason that I enjoy that is because it gives me time to have those conversations to help prepare my kids for the day. I
Hmm.
always ask my kids in the morning, what are you looking forward to today? It
Hmm.
helps them center, it helps them think about their day, and it forces them to enter school with a positive attitude because I got to school today. We've all heard it. I don't want to go to school. I'm tired.
Right.
Right?
Don't
What are
want to
you
get
looking
up. Yeah.
day, right?
Hmm.
And so, having those conversations in the morning, when they get out of the car, what kind of day are we going to have? We're going to have a great day. Like, making sure that they're walking in with the positive mindset. Pickup duty, yeah, pickup duty all over town, right? But
Hmm.
pickup duty for me is more about learning about their day. There's nothing like being a parent and having no idea what's going on in your kid's school, right? And so, hey, how was school today? What did you do? Who did you talk to? Who did you play with on the playground? What did the teachers say? How did you do on that exam? Oh, well, if you didn't do so well, what do you think you need to do better next time? Like, how are we going to address this? How are you balancing, doing 20 different activities and studies?
Hmm.
Talking to them on the drive about being a scholar athlete and what that means. Like, in the Walker household, we're students first. If
Hmm.
you can't be a student, you can't be nothing. So
Right.
your job as a child, you are earning your rent, you are earning your livelihood, and that job is to be a good student. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to remember, right?
Right.
And focus. And if you can do that, then you can do anything. Why? Because your education will open up doors that are unimaginable, right? Helping them understand that. And so, yeah, Uber driver, but more my daughter's like, you're going to give us one of your inspirational speeches again today. So like speaking life into our kids, because that's important, because they're hearing conversations. The question is, what voice is going to be loudest in their ear, right? For me, my saving grace was that no matter what negativity was coming at me from school, from the teachers who were supposed to be like uplifting us, the voice kept echoing in the back of my mind were the voices of my parents and my extended family members who kept telling me that I could do it and I was great and I was going to succeed and I was going to get out of the hood and I was going to do all these amazing things, right? But you're not telling your kids, someone else is. And you have no idea what kind of stuff is being poured into these young people, and their minds are sponges, right? So one, understanding that. And I think as a parent, so Lee asked about, you know, what advice would I give to other moms or women who are in my situation? Give yourself a break. You are fantastic. You know, what was that Instagram meme that was going around? Girl, you doing a good job. Girl, you doing a good job, right? Like, you're doing a fantastic job. Because we're gunners, because we're type A, because we're constantly going for the top in every single thing we do, we think that when we're not perfect and showing up at 10,000 at home, we're a failure, or somehow our kids are going to be broken. And the reality is, because we operate at such a high level compared to most of the people in the world, not like putting anyone down or anything, like that's just our way of operating. We're operating way up here. So even if we're not operating at a stellar pace in our household, we're still operating at a high capacity, doing great things with our kids and our families. Does that make sense? Like, give yourself a break. Like, you know, yeah, I yell at my kids every once in a while. Am I perfect? No. I just try to make sure, you know, don't hit them, don't leave marks, so you don't end up in jail. Like,
especially not the marks.
Just don't do it, you know? You know, like, not a perfect parent. Sometimes I lose my temper, but I make sure that my kids know that they're loved, know that they're cared for, know that they're my priority. You know, sometimes I do end up picking up my phone at dinner time, but I make sure to look at them and be like, you know, this is really important. Let me step away for a minute, but I'm telling you, I'm coming right back. And I honor my word to come right back. You know, if I'm in a call, like Bishop, if he's on a call, he lets them come in. Sometimes you don't have that liberty to allow them to be able to do that. Right. And so, you know, you just have to explain to them what you're doing. And sometimes you let them into your world and let them see and let them be a part of what you're doing, right? Or help them understand that this isn't just for me. This is for you. This is for us, right? And so all of those things. But I mean, the bottom line is, give yourself a break. You're doing great. Your level of operating, your level of 10 or 10,000 is somebody else's 1000, you know, 100 or 1100. So stop being so hard on yourself. And it's okay. You can have it all. Some people, you say, you can't have it all. You can have it all. You just can't have it all at the same time, right? You can't have it all at the same time. You only have two hands. Yeah, you're juggling, but every time you're juggling, you know, I had to get to the point where, so we used to say balance. Oh, how can you balance your life and your lifestyle? There's no such thing as balance. You can't balance. If everything is 50-50 and you're not doing anything well and you're like, no, there's no such thing as balance. It is juggling. You're constantly, there's balls in the air. You have to wrap your mind around that there's some things that you're going to drop. If you're as busy as we are, you're as busy as Lee, you're as busy as Charellle, there's something that you're going to drop. Don't let the ball that you drop be your kids. Don't let the ball that you drop be your marriage or your relationship that you're in. Because those are the things that will sustain you over time. And those are the only things that matter at the end of it all, right? Everyone else, if you die tomorrow, they'll replace you and they'll keep trucking along. And that's that, right? Like, at the end of the day, these are the things that matter. So yeah, you're going to drop the ball, but just make sure that You don't drop those things that are most important to you. You wake up the next morning, you apologize to whoever you dropped the ball to, and you keep moving. Oh, sorry, I was busy, or sorry, I couldn't make it, whatever. But
Right.
you prioritize the things that are important. Let the main thing be the main thing, which is your core. So one of the things you might hear Bishop and I talk about is the core four. The core four is us, my 2 kids and the 2 of us. That's the core 4. Everything else in our life rotates around the core 4. So put our schedule down. Like, our schedule is insane. Like, Bishop almost passed out yesterday because he was so busy and so crazy. I made him sleep. Thought he had the flu. You don't have the flu. You're just exhausted. Like, you haven't slept in 2 days. Like, go to sleep. He woke up totally fine, right? And so on the calendar, we have, our family stuff, our family vacations. We've already planned probably all of 2024 already, because that's how we have to live our life. We put our stuff, our travel engagement, we put the kids stuff, we put our personal things that we want to do, either by ourselves or together, things wrapped around our marriage. And then that's our basic background calendar. Then everything else, any business endeavors, any travel, any trips, any preaching engagements, any speaking engagements, all that has to function around the calendar that we've set. Why? Right. Because core is the most important. And if the core is solid and well balanced and at peace, then the train can keep moving, right? Imagine if that core is broken, then you're clicking and clacking down the track. You're like, and how fast can you go? You can't move very fast if your wheels or your spokes are not in alignment, right? And so making sure that we're together, that we're aligned, that our core is together, I think, to me, that's like the most important thing. And then everything else can rotate around that. And granted, like, there's a season for everything, right? Like, when you're younger in your entrepreneurial endeavor, when you're younger in your career, sometimes you don't have that option or that opportunity, right?
That's right.
And I say seasons, it's short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. Short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. You do what you have to do when you have to do it, so eventually you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. But that short-term sacrifice should not turn into 10 years. It shouldn't be 7 years. You know, you can do it for 3 months. Like, if I have to sacrifice something, I put it in a 3-month block. And after 12 weeks, if it's not done, if it's not close to where we want it to go, then something is wrong, right? And I'm not talking about building a business from zero to, to fullness, but like breaking your projects down into 3-month, 90-day increments, because that, I feel like, is a safe cushion for kids and family. Like, they can tolerate that. You can put it on the calendar, you can put it on the wall, you can cross off days together. Well, mommy's disappearing for a little while. I'm going to be under a rock, but I'll be back. See, you're crossing off, and they get a prize at the end of that 90 days for being patient, for working with you, for doing whatever. And then after that, you can honor them by pouring back into them and pouring into them hard until your next sort of 90-day cycle. But doing things that incorporate your family as you're going through those seasons of high intense focus is important, because, again, at the end of the day, those are the people that are going to stand by you, that are going to be there for you. And like, I just remember, and my husband and I talk about this all the time, like, what kind of parent do you want to be? What kind of legacy do you want to leave in the minds of your kids, right? Like, I remember Dr. King's daughter and obviously this was a while ago, being on Oprah Winfrey show. And Oprah was like, how did it feel to have a father who was da-da-da-da? And she was like, look, I didn't know that man. That man that you're describing, that's so great and so this and so that, I didn't know him. All I knew was that my dad was never around. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to be that parent? Like, what kind of parent do you want to be? What kind of legacy do you want to leave to your kids? You can do 5 less meetings, 5 less business trips, 1 less entrepreneurial endeavor, and have an amazing relationship with your family. Or you can do it all and have your kids upset, you strung out, doing something they don't have business doing with people they don't have any business doing because you weren't there. Or you can sort of put something down and make that sacrifice in order to be present for your kids. Because at the end of the day, what you say, every time you say yes to something, you're simultaneously saying no to something else, no matter what the decision is. So you have to make sure that you're not always saying no to your family, that you're not always saying no to your kids. Again, there's a season for everything. But yeah, I can go on and on with that. I'm passionate about it.
I love it. And they can preach for sure. And it's important, because at the end of the day, it's about the relationships that we have. And sometimes, like we talked about, even you, that we are sacrificing it to be in front of screen or behind a screen, if you will, but to remember to recognize those that are around you. Dr. Stephanie, believe it or not, we are almost out of time. This has been so phenomenal. We still have so much more we would love to unpack. So
Yeah.
at some point, we'll have to get you back on the show if that's okay with you and we can align the schedules to do so.
Yeah, that's a whole work and effort in and of itself. But no, yeah, it was a pleasure being here today.
Absolutely. But before we even, get to that space, we would love to kind of extract some nuggets. And then I want to do a quick recap of some of the key points that we've gotten from you today.
Okay.
So any quick nugget, not quick nuggets, any key nuggets that you would like to leave with our audience?
I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, no matter where you go, no matter how high you climb, make sure you take God with you. Every step of the way, whether I was in, undergrad or medical school or graduate school or, entering my career at Harvard or here or marriage or building businesses, mentoring, no matter what I was doing, no matter where I was going, even in this season now where I'm looking for what's my next, I'm taking God with me. He will always guide you. He will always cover you. He will always protect you. Sometimes he will keep you underground until you're ready to excel to that next level, to help you gain the skills that you need to be successful at that next level. He will speak in your ear in terms of positivity and love when other people don't necessarily do that. He will unveil your frenemies and make sure that you know who those people are, to make sure that you know who your real friends are and the people who will have your back. He will help you identify mentors. He will bring you strategic relationships that will help you build in the future. Like, God is the bomb.com, and just making sure that you take him wherever you go. And in doing so, he will always, always, always make good on his promise. If you don't take him where you're climbing, he's not going to allow you to climb very far because he knows that you leave him behind. So for me, that's number 1, 2, and 3. And the last thing that I would always say is just be yourself, be your authentic self. If he has given you passion, if he has given you sort of drive or a heart for something, know that he put that in you. And if he put that in you, he's going to help you excel. He's going to help you build. He's going to help you be successful in that thing. Like we always say, if it's God's choice, it's God's invoice. If it's God's will, it's God's bill. And as long as he's putting those things in you, he's giving that to you. So what I mean by be your authentic self, if he's giving it to you, he's not giving that vision or that purpose or that passion to some souped up artificial version of who you think you need to be. He's giving that you, your authentic selves, with the quality that you have, knowing your flaws, knowing that you're imperfect, knowing the things that you've been through in life. You don't have to be perfect to be successful. You just have to be focused. You have to be dedicated. You have to be consistent. You have to be willing to grind. You have to be willing to put in a little blood, sweat, and tears. And you have to be willing, again, to take him with you. And I would just leave it at that. I mean, bringing your full self to the table. Don't dim your light for anybody. It will only make the journey longer than it needs to be and unnecessarily complicated. Bring your whole self. If they don't want who you are, go to the next door because another door will open for you and they will welcome you with open arms. So be you, take God with you, and just don't compromise.
And how can our guests, if they want to follow you on social, LinkedIn, how can they catch up with you?
So you can follow me on Instagram at Dr. Steph Walker. So Dr. Steph Walker, I'm on Instagram. Also, my husband and I just started within the last 2 months a new YouTube channel. It's really our life as an open book. It's called Our Life, Our Journey, Our Truth with the Walkers. So again, Our Life, Our Journey, Our Truth on YouTube. Follow us, subscribe, leave comments. In the comments, you can even tell us some ideas in terms of what you want us to talk about as well. And then also, you can always find our book on relationships. We have a book called Becoming a Couple of Destiny that you can buy on josephwalker3.org. So feel free to follow us, connect. I would love to hear from you. And I look forward to the next time. Charellle, Lee.
Thank you. We covered a lot. Charelle's going to do this real cool wrap up. there's still Dr. Steph, the businesswoman. I mean, there's just so many different, aspects of what we would love to talk about. But thank you for your time. It was a heck of a time for all of us to sync our schedules. Hence, we used to, do these live, and just with everybody's schedule is so crazy right now. We're starting to pre-record, and we'll get, this will air, I think it's Tuesday, right, Charellle? So it'll air Tuesday, and then from there, it'll hit YouTube, hit all of our channels. But just thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Learn even more about you, and it's just really exciting. Charellle,
thank you.
It really has. Again, I echo just the simple thanks. I mean, the plethora of wisdom in such a short period of time. We look forward to unpacking even more with you, Dr. Stephanie. So thank you.
And we didn't give her water break.
We didn't give a water break, but it was so, honestly, she was on a roll. So I just said, we're going to keep going. This is amazing, So guys, you can go get your water after this. How about that? All right. Well, thank you so much again, Dr. Steph. I am just going to do a quick recap of some of the key points that Dr. Steph mentioned on this podcast. So one, be sure to make sure that if you are not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, and follow us so that you can continue to be on a court for these. But for Dr. Steph, she talked about, especially, she kicked us off by saying, that she seeks the purpose and not the platform. It's about the space of what's inside of you and leveraging the resources around you to help get that purpose out of you. Have the grit to keep going and to continue to move forward, to continue to push in spite of the barriers that even come against you, right? But find those that champion your success along the way, even whether they look like you or they don't. People are people, and people come with them experiences and things that they can share to help accelerate your life even tremendously. No matter where you go, no matter how high you climb, always maintain your integrity. And she talked about the space of one of the things that she would share with her daughter is that your integrity goes with you and grows with you throughout your life. And that's something that you cannot get away from. So make sure that your integrity, your moral compass, and the reason why you do things are intact. And those things are aligned with the purpose and where you decide to go in life. What you stand under, you understand, right? Which is the space of where you place yourself is what becomes the natural aspect of what can consume you. Get to know who you are and the core of your being. Spend time with yourself. Take those pause moments. Go for those walks. Turn down the phone. Do whatever you need to do to connect with yourself so that you can walk in the authenticity of who you are. Ask yourself daily, do you like what you see? And be honest with yourself about the reflection that you have and that you give. Recognize that it matters what you see and what you like about what you see more so than what others say upon or what they speak directly upon you. Own who you are and love who you are. And no matter what God is sending you out, for whatever God is sending you out for, you are already prepared for. It's already deposited in you. Just remember that the seed has within it everything that it needs in order to become a tree. Right? And just as a form as an egg, when an egg is in its rarest form, has everything that it needs for the child to mature. So it's already in you. It's important to be equally yoked with whoever you connect yourself with. So when it comes to relationships, who you decide to marry, or even those who you decide to do business with, to make sure that you are on the same and one accord. And understand that it's not about competition. It's about being able to find a space of collaboration so that you can too collectively elevate your situation. Lift as you climb, or climb together. Have someone who can be dedicated to you and not one that wants to stifle you or minimize your growth. Be mindful of what you ask for, because what you speak is what you will see. And what you will see becomes what you will seize. Most of what you see is not real on social media. So seek the authentic relationships, seek the authentic connections that you have. And I love the fact that she said, how can you compete with a ghost, right? And it's about this aspect of trying to compete with all of the imagery that you see, but recognizing that it is what artificial, that's the first word of artificial intelligence, is that it is not real. So stop comparing yourself. See and seek authentic relationships. Seek fulfillment and not fans, right? Seek the fulfillment within the relationships and not so much the likes of fans. Don't engage in superficial sharing. Don't get your sense of self from social medias. Go again, spend time in the mirror to recognize who you are. Ask yourself the question, did you handle things well? And if not, be comfortable with making adjustments. When it comes to your children, pour into them. Recognize that the conversations that you have with them, which ones are the most prevalent? The ones that you have with them should radiate more in their ears than the ones that are around them. And make sure that what you are pouring into them is what you want them to become. So don't let the ball drop. Don't let the ball that drop be the things that are most important to you. Give yourself a break. Be okay with being okay, but recognize that you are doing great. This is what Dr. Steph said. Your level is the level that you're on. So recognize that whatever the gift is that is inside of you is for you, and to not compare that with anyone else. The core that you have must be solid, and recognize that sometimes you have to make short-term sacrifices for long-term gain, but don't get complacent in a space that you were only expected to be in temporarily. Incorporate your family throughout the cycles of life and recognize that they should be included in the journey. Ask yourself, what kind of parent do you want to be, and then become that. At the end of the day, she said, no matter how high you climb, take God with you. God will always guide you, cover you, protect you, provide for you, and direct you. So recognize that God is, as she said, the bomb.com. Just be yourself and show up as your authentic self. And if it's God's choice, it's his invoice, which is why it's so important to have him on the journey. You don't have to be perfect to be successful. You just have to be working on it and to be progressing throughout life. It's not about perfection. It's about progression, as she said. Don't dim your light for anyone else. Remember, because it will only make the journey longer. So just be yourself. Thank you, Dr. Steph, so much. This has been so amazing. And that's only just a snapshot of the nuggets that she poured over the last hour. I want to invite you to go back, replay this, share it with those who you believe need to get all this information. And we just simply, again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to grace the stage of Women with Grit.
Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
All right. Have a great one. Have an amazing week and weekend, and we will see you soon.
We'll see you next week. And don't forget that you can follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Exceptional Women with Grit, or on YouTube at @Women with Grit, or visit our website, www.womenwithgrit.com. Take care.
All right. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.